Hello everyone. In the previous sections, we have gone through the detailed process of scanning the target machine, finding the vulnerabilities, and then exploiting those vulnerabilities in various ways. Now this section will discuss about assembling the pieces. So once the activity is over, what next? So here in this section, we'll learn about or we'll go through the recap of the scope. We'll get an understanding of the information that has been gathered, the vulnerabilities identified, exploitable vulnerabilities or how the exploits are done, and then the final documentation. So the first video of this section is recap of scope. So here we will understand what exactly does scoping include. We have already got an understanding of target scoping in our previous videos, but just as a quick recap, scoping includes understanding the client's requirement. Based on the understanding, you prepare a test plan wherein you understand the test boundaries and you define the business objective, and then finally you prepare the proper project management and the schedule. So if you recall the previous videos where we had discussed about the client's requirements and the target scoping, we got an understanding that you need to first interact with the client. It could be a face-to-face meeting or a PEX or a con call wherein you get an understanding of what all devices they want to be tested, whether it is a network penetration test or a application testing and so on. And then based on that, you understand how many devices or how many applications would be covered under the test. Now, once you have enough information of this, you create a project plan so as to get an understanding of how many days would be invested in performing these activities and what all things will be covered in the activity. Even though you know that this is what will be covered, the client doesn't know. So once you prepare the project plan and you share it with the client, they also get an understanding of what is coming ahead. So just for a reference or a sample, this is a project plan, a sample project plan. So you can use the same format, you can create your own format, and I would recommend that you get a little innovative and using this as a reference, you create your own format for preparing a project plan. So here I can see once I had got an understanding of what devices needs to be tested and how many devices are there in the scope, based on that I am able to create a project plan. So I've allocated few days for the complete project preparation wherein I study the complete company's network structure and also review the security mechanism which is already configured in the company related to the IT. This helps me in proceeding further for the next step of the penetration test. Now this may not be applicable in few cases wherein the client is not looking for an internal penetration test but only an external penetration test, or maybe the client is looking for a black box penetration test. So they may not share you the details about the network infrastructure and so on. So that is where your discussion with the client becomes essential. After that, since my client was looking for the penetration test of 10 firewalls, so I created a plan for what all activities would be covered on the firewall testing. So firewall listing, the OS configuration, firewall configuration, identifying the configuration and so on. So you can see for each of the activities I have defined the number of days depending on how much time it will be consuming. So the more the number of devices, the more time it will be taking. Now once you define the mandates or the time needed for completing the activity, that helps the client also understand how much time will be invested in this overall activity. Moving down, you can see similarly I have created the detailed plan for the routers penetration testing, and then we have switches and servers and load balancers and so on. So depending on what all devices are there in the client's network, you need to document them in your project plan. And based on this project plan, it says the total man days required would be around 62 days. This seems to be a good number, but then considering the number of devices that are in the scope, the target scoping or the scoping of the client's requirement is essential to help you build up a proper project plan, and based on that only you can go ahead with the next step of the activity.